What up, y'all? This your boy Manny, and this is Talking Sports with Manny, episode 11. Let's get it. So, guys, the NBA is back. I'm excited. So, here's what we know so far. Training camp is going to be July the 9th to the 11th. Kind of give players a 2-day training camp to kind of, get back into the swing of things. The season is going to start July the 31st, and the season is going to end October the 12th. So if there's a possible Game 7, it will be played on October the 12th. Draft lottery is going to be August the 25th. Then the NBA draft will be October the 15th. So this is great news for the players that are in college that are kind of wondering, when the draft is going to be. So that's great. I'm pretty sure that the combine process is probably going to be a little bit before that. But I don't really think that the, players need a combine, to be honest, with all the safety issues going on. Free agency is going to take place October the 18th. So that's going to be like right after, that NBA draft. And then it gives the players time to do the training camp, which the training camp for the 2020-2021 season is going to be November the 10th. Then the start of the NBA season is going to be December the 1st. So I was kind of close, if you listen to my last podcast, talking about speculation of when the season is going to start. So if the season starts in December, that means the season will probably go into maybe August of next year. I'm not sure, but I'm just excited that at least the NBA has a plan. As far as safety, they're going to test every day. They're going to test multiple times a day. And if somebody is to contract the virus during the season, they're going to, get that player treatment. Player's probably going to have to sit out 14 days total. So I'm excited, man. We're going to get into the teams and scenarios in a moment. Ever wanted to make a podcast but never really knew how? Well, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. There's a creation tool that allows you to record right from your phone or computer, and as well as editing as well. Anchor will distribute your podcast to places such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also monetize from your podcast. You can download the Anchor app for free at the App Store, or you can go to anchor.fm to get started. So in bringing the season back, Adam Silver was in contact with all of the owners and, governors. So he reached out to all of the governors, and what they decided to do was to take a vote. Okay, so the plan was to bring back 22 teams and have a play-in into the playoffs. Okay, so what happened was they had a voting. They voted, all 30 teams voted, and it was 29 teams in favor, and then one team was not in favor. And the one team that was not in favor was the Portland Trailblazers. I guess they felt it was unfair to have them come in to play into this thing. So 5 teams from the West was invited into this 22-team play-in. The Portland Trailblazers, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, Phoenix Suns, and the one lone team in the East was the Washington Wizards. So it's pretty interesting to see how they're going to do this. What I'm thinking is they're saying that every team, so all 22 teams are going to play 8 games. Okay, so after training camp, teams kind of get together and they play these 8 games. And from my understanding is these 6 teams that were invited are going to try to make the playoffs by getting into that 8th seed. Okay, so it's still going to be a 16-team playoff, but what I'm not clear on yet is I believe that there's going to be a reseeding of the total 16 teams. That's what I haven't seen yet. So, but there will be a play-in to where there will be 16 teams in the playoffs, and then there might be a reseeding, because if you're going to invite 5 teams from the West and just 1 from the East, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So what I'm seeing is the 6 teams play, and if they can, get into the playoffs, it'll be the 7th seed or the 8th seed. That's what I've seen so far. I've seen a lot of different speculations, but nothing is really set in stone yet. But like I said earlier, the teams that are invited are the Trailblazers, Pelicans, Kings, Spurs, Suns, Wizards. So these teams are excited to have a shot. And this actually makes for better basketball. Now, I highly doubt that the NBA does have a reseeding of the top 16 teams that do qualify after this 22 team play-in invite in Orlando. I believe that these 8 games that teams will play is meaningful. I believe it's really going to focus on who qualifies for what seeding. And I also believe that the reason why the West has 5 invites and the East 1 is, I think it was like the teams that were close to that 8th seed. So to be fair, they brought in all the bubble teams. So no reseeding, I don't believe, but more so 5 teams in the West fighting for the 8th spot, and then 1 team in the East fighting for that 8th spot. It's looking like Orlando is most likely going to hold on to that 8th spot, but the Wizards do have a chance. But the difference is that schedule. We're not sure who's going to play who, but just imagine playing a team like the Celtics, Clippers, Dallas. Like, every team that you're going to play are all playoff teams for the most part, opposed to having some of those bottom teams in the schedule. And I feel sorry for teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, who, pretty much had a smooth ride to getting into the postseason. Now they have to literally qualify for the postseason all over again. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it's still going to be 8 teams in the East, 8 teams in the West. It only makes sense. What I said earlier is just more so speculation, but 8 teams in the East, 8 teams in the West. And then, you play best 4 out of 7, 4 rounds to crown a champion. That's pretty much how that's going to go. So let me catch you guys up on where the NBA was before the season was suspended. When we look at points per game, James Harden was having another spectacular season, averaging 34 points a game. Bradley Beal was second in scoring with 30.5 a game. I think that Bradley Beal has played his way into a All-NBA team this year. He'll probably get All-NBA second or All-NBA third. Now, if he's able to get his team into the playoffs, then I would say that he's a lock for that All-NBA second team. No questions asked. Giannis Antetokounmpo was averaging 29.6 points a game. Trae Young, 29.6 points a game, and his season is now over because the Atlanta Hawks were not invited to this tournament / play-in season. Damian Lillard is averaging 28.9 points a game. These are the top 5 scorers. Now, with these last 8 games of the season, I wonder if any of these numbers are going to change. I expect James Harden to be there at 1 and Beal to be there at 2. No questions asked. I think that Beal literally needs to average 35 points a game in order to get the Wizards into the playoffs. Not only that, they'll have to win pretty much maybe 6 out of these 8 games or 7 out of these 8 games to get into the playoffs. And Orlando will have to lose 3 to 4 games for the Wizards to have a chance. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they match up the Wizards and the Magic in one of those 8 games as well. Leaders in assists were LeBron James having a spectacular season, 10.6 assists a game. This is his first time in his career that he's averaging double-figure assists. Not that he can't do it, but he's playing more of a point guard role this year for the Lakers. Trae Young with 9 assists, Ricky Rubio with 8.9, Luka Doncic with 8.7, and Ben Simmons with 8.2. Ben Simmons always finds his way in the top 5 in assists ever since he's been in the league. So shout out to the big point guards. And if you look on this list, LeBron, Luka, and Ben Simmons, those are some big point guards right there. So shout out to Magic Johnson for making the big point guard a thing. Andre Drummond was leading the NBA in rebounds with 15.2. Hassan Whiteside has just had a great season so far. He had 14.2, and mind you, Whiteside was a guy that the Miami Heat didn't want, and he's been filling in for Nurkic, who's injured right now. So I believe that Whiteside does get another team next year, because I don't think he wants to come back and be a backup. Giannis was number 3 in rebounds, 13.7. Rudy Gobert, 13.7, and Sabonis to round out the top 5 with 12.4 rebounds a game. Blocks leaders, top 5, were Hassan Whiteside at 3 blocks a game. Brook Lopez was number 2 at 2.4, followed by Anthony Davis at 2.4. Anthony Davis, to me, is the defensive player of the year right now. We're gonna get into team breakdowns in just a moment. Miles Turner, 2.2, and Porzingis was 2.1. So those are the block leaders. Steals leaders, you had Ben Simmons at 1, Chris Dunn at 2, Andre Drummond at 3, Van Vliet at 4, and Kawhi at 5. Van Vliet is having a heck of a season, man, and he's definitely going to be a key piece in the Toronto Raptors run at, repeating or getting back to the finals. Andre Drummond, to see him in the top 3 in steals, it's just a testament to his game. This guy right here, he's always in, the top 5 in rebounds. Now in steals, Cleveland got them a good one, and hopefully Cleveland will be able to keep him. That's a center that they can build around with their young guards moving forward. So let's break down where the NBA was in the East, because the East was okay when the NBA stopped. At the time when it stopped, there's been 6 teams to qualify at that point, and it was the Milwaukee Bucks were 1, Toronto was 2, Boston was 3, Miami was 4, Pacers were 5, and Philadelphia 76ers were 6. Now, the cool thing about these 8 games is Pacers and Philly are only like a half a game away from each other, and in 2 games away from Miami. So really a lot can happen between the 3 through the 6 seed in the East. There can still be a lot of movement. I think that Milwaukee and Toronto are pretty much locked for those first 2 spots. Honestly, I think Milwaukee is the best team, but I think their biggest threat is the Toronto Raptors. Just my opinion. I know during the season, a lot of people did not believe me, but with Siakam and Van Vliet and Powell, they've had a lot of guys step up. They have 8 guys that can score 20 points a game. So the Raptors are going to be a tough out, man. I think the Raptors have a legit chance of going back to the finals. Some people would say the Celtics. A lot of people picked the Philadelphia 76ers when the season started, but for some reason, they just do not fit. I believe Embiid or Ben Simmons will be moved if they can't, go further next year. This year is more of it's a wash right now. Now, looking at the 7 seed through the 6 seed, you see that the Brooklyn Nets have a 6-game cushion on the Wizards, and then the Magics have a 5.5-game cushion on the Wizards. So I'm not saying that the Nets and the Magic can't lose a lot of games so that the Wizards can get in, but it's going to be really tough for the Wizards to get in. It all depends on what the schedule looks like for the Magic and what the schedule looks like for the Nets. But there's a very slim chance. And I was in a Wizards group, and I've seen fans saying that John Wall should come back. Honestly, why come back? Why risk further injury? People are saying, oh, well, John Wall is 110%. I get that, but what is the entire point of him coming back? It's not like the Wizards are playing for an NBA championship right now. So I would say keep John Wall out until next season. I think that the Orlando Magic will lock up that 8th spot. The West was very tough this year, very competitive. The Lakers were the best team in the West, second best team in the league. Milwaukee Bucks was obviously the best team in the NBA record-wise. Others say the Clippers are the best team in the NBA. Some say Lakers are the best team in the NBA. I'm not going to talk about which team that I think is the best team in the NBA, but those who know me know who my squad is. But the Lakers were the first seed. Clippers were the second seed. Lakers had a 5-game cushion on the Clippers. Denver Nuggets were the third seed. Utah Jazz were the fourth. Oklahoma City Thunder was the 5th seed. Houston Rockets were the 6th seed. Now, those are the teams that have clinched a playoff spot. So that means that everybody else that's still, eligible, that's still in a bubble, meaning the Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, Pelicans, and the Portland Trailblazers are all fighting literally for that 8th seed, because I don't see any of these lower seeded teams or lower tiered teams getting to 40 wins with 8 games. It's just not feasible. It just doesn't make any sense. There's a slim chance that the Portland Trailblazers could get to the 7th seed, but I don't see Dallas losing 7 games out of the 8. So with that being said, the Grizzlies, I feel sorry for them. In their last 10 games, they were 4-6. So it wasn't like they were playing good basketball, but every other team that's underneath them, like the Trailblazers and, the Pelicans, they all were having, terrible 10-game stretches as well. The only team that was surging in those 10 games was the Sacramento Kings. They've won 7 out of 10. So in this, 16 bubble for the 8th seed, I would probably say that the Trailblazers have the best chance to lock up that 8th seed. And boy, it would be a heck of a matchup between the Trailblazers and the Lakers in the first round. That would be awesome. Now, speaking of the first round of the playoffs, usually, when you have the top 4 records in the NBA and the number 1 overall record, things of that nature, you get that home court advantage. This year, because of how things happen and because the games are going to be in Orlando, there is no home court advantage. So the NBA has been thinking of things to, make it better for those teams that do have good records, because you want to reward them somehow. You just don't want to just get teams together and, they put in all this work to get all these wins and then you don't reward them. So there is an alternative to home court advantage. Okay. Now, this has not been set in stone. I think it's still being discussed, but the higher seed team gets possession to start the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th quarters. Something else, the higher seeded team designates one player to be allowed 7 fouls before fouling out. So every team will get to choose one player. So if you have a team that has a shot blocker and he's always in foul trouble, you might want to give that player 7 fouls before he's fouled out. Or you might, get your star player like a LeBron James 7 fouls and just say, Tell him to just go all out. I know a guy like James Harden definitely needs 7 fouls because he's always, getting charges. He's always getting charges called on him. Another alternative is higher seeded teams receives 1 extra coach's challenge. Intriguing. Another alternative is the higher seeded team transports actual hardwood home court to Orlando. Now, being in Orlando and having home court and let's say, for example, the Bucks have the home court advantage and then they're looking at their court. Maybe psychologically that might help the players, but I don't know. I really don't know. There's another one more. The higher seeded team gets a hotel choice priority. So the higher seeded team gets the hotel choice priority. I don't really think these players are really concerned about where they stay. I mean, everybody's going to be in Orlando. So I don't get it. But, the NBA is trying to make it right. They're just trying to come up with ways to reward the teams that were putting in work. And I think this was the best that they can do to make things fair. Now, a little reminder. The Lakers were battling with the Clippers all season. I know the Clippers got those 2 games against the Lakers, and the Lakers were set to play them, and they did, and played very well. Won the third matchup versus the Clippers, and the Lakers were supposed to play them again, but they weren't able to. So there's just this battle of LA thing going. Some are saying the Clippers are the better team. Some are saying the Lakers are the better team. What I will say is that we will soon find out. The Denver Nuggets, they're a pretty solid team. They brought back a lot of their veterans. We'll see if they learned from last year's upset to the Trailblazers. OKC is an interesting team. When Chris Paul got there, they were a young team. They were not expected to do anything. And now they're in position to make some noise in the playoffs. Chris Paul has really done a heck of a job leading that team. The Rockets are an intriguing team at 6 because they changed their whole philosophy, traded away their big man, and wanted to go small. That small ball worked at times with PJ Tucker as their center and Covington playing the 4. But we'll see when the playoffs come and you got to guard guys like Anthony Davis and Jokic and Gobert and Steven Adams. I'm not sure that small ball is really gonna work in a 7-game series, but we shall see. In this weird season, anything can happen. Is a neutral neutral court, so there's no home court advantage. And as far as fans, I don't think that there'll be any fans in the building. Trailblazers is an intriguing team. Dallas is an intriguing team with their star power and the talent that they have. Let's not sleep on the Pelicans making the playoffs as well. I know the NBA would love to see Zion in the playoffs, but I'm not sure that happens. And in the East, you got the Milwaukee Bucks, who are just solid from top to bottom. They're one of the teams that have the most size with the with the Lopez brothers, not Brooks brothers, the Lopez brothers. And they both can shoot threes this year. Milwaukee has great defense. They have shooters from every single position. Sometimes they have a lineup of 4 shooters. I would say 5, but Giannis still cannot shoot. The Toronto Raptors are very good. They're very solid. People don't give them the credit that they deserve. They're a very good team. And I think they have a shot coming out of the East. Boston Celtics are cool. They're young. So we'll see. They really don't have a lot of big man depth. So we'll really see what they do in this tournament. The Miami Heat, they were having a very solid season. They still are, but they kind of fell off a little bit. They dropped from the 2nd seed to the 4th seed. We'll see if Iguodala can really help that team. The Pacers, I don't really have much to say about the Pacers. I just think that they're just a team that's in the playoffs because the East is pretty weak. So I don't really respect the Pacers. The Philadelphia 76ers, if they put it all together and get some more shooting, they can beat some of these top teams. So it's going to be an exciting playoffs. And for those who think that KD Kevin Durant and Kyrie should come back. I don't think they come back, even though that they're a 7th seed, and them playing the Toronto Raptors with a full healthy squad is intriguing, but I think that Kyrie and KD sit this one out. So it's going to be an exciting season. It's going to be an exciting playoffs. I'm excited that the NBA is back, and we'll see who comes out on top. So guys, it's a wrap. This is another great episode. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for showing love. Don't forget to share this podcast with one other person. Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is @TSWithManny. Follow me on Facebook, Talking Sports with Manny. I'm also on YouTube as well. Love you guys. You guys be safe.